Let's see. What we about to watch, chat? Actually, no. I gotcha. Let's look into some rabbit holes. I'm a deep thinker. I don't know about y'all, but like, I'm a deep thinker. I just be thinking about shit. Let's just watch the 5 most
The
disturbing internet
2006
rabbit holes.
volleyball incident. On July 2nd, 2017, an anonymous user posted a thread on 4chan's
Get
paranormal
it.
board saying, "How does one live after taking the red pill on the 2006 volleyball incident?" Now, if you're wondering what that incident was, it's a strange and disturbing story. The post was referring to a supposed mass shooting where a gunman killed 14 people during a high school volleyball game in either South Dakota or Nebraska back in 2006. But here's where things get strange. If you search for any information about it online, you'll find nothing. No news articles, no official casualty reports, nothing.
Yo,
Just
what?
conspiracy theory websites and the occasional Reddit post asking if it even happened. It's like the whole event either never existed or was somehow erased from history. But despite the silence online, there are many people who claim they remember hearing about it. Some even say they were at Mount Rushmore around that time and heard a report about it on the radio. For a long time, the only evidence of the
Bro, that shit is cap. You telling me you about to be on Mount Rushmore listening to shit like that? Like, nah, nigga,
incident
you
on the
wasn't even
internet
paying
was
attention
this
at that
still
point,
frame
bro.
from a home video that was supposedly taken just before the incident with the date September 27, 2006 embedded on it. That is, until some ordinary
Yo, that's the year I was born. 2006.
gamer, a YouTuber who often dives into dark web rabbit holes, discovered more evidence. While browsing the Late Nights forum on a 4chan-like
Wait,
site, he
was that KSI? Was that KSI?
discovered more evidence. While browsing the Late Nights forum on a 4chan-like site, he came across the gruesome pictures of a bloody school gym that were allegedly taken soon after the shooting had already happened.
So right here, let's go down a little bit over here. They've got 2006 volley. Oh my god.
Massacre.
Oh, we're gonna have to blur this one.
I think I remember this. I was searching around for some form of proof of this happening, and apparently this is a snippet from a home video.
Jesus Christ. It's actually
LOL.
like death footage. I think I remember this. I was searching around for some sort of proof of this happening, and apparently it's a snippet from a home video.
Yo, where could I find this?
I got. Oh my god. We have to blur that.
Yo, hold on. I just got chills for some reason, yo. I just got chills, like, and I didn't even see the picture or nothing.
That out. I gotta make sure we note that and blur it real quick. Let me add that to the notes here. Jesus. It's like an actual straight up bloody massacre. It's like VHS recorded. This has to be from like a movie.
Yo, I got that same PS5 controller. I got the same PS5 controller. Yes, sir.
There's no way.
That's
This
twin
has to
right
be
there.
from, like some movie. It's crazy as hell. That it's got like a CBI not for release. Like I assume CBI stands for like some sort of a governmental organization or something. That is so messed up.
Hold on, we about to do some research. Cerebral visual impairment. In the context of a vascular health, CVI stands for chronic venous insufficiency and conditions where the veins, particularly in the legs. Nigga, this shit, I don't think this shit is what it's talking about. I feel like it's talking about something different.
I feel like I should have known this or something. That's.
Oh.
I don't even know if that's
Yeah,
like
let me
a
know if y'all crack that
conspiracy.
back
How's
down
that a
in the
conspiracy?
comments.
It's actually like death foot, unless it's from like some movie or something that we don't know about. Jesus Christ, that is actually the most chilling thing I've seen. We're like 5 minutes into this
Also, this was the rest of the media I had.
recording, and
All
already
from the
it's just
same
like death footage of
person recorded.
hit the building.
In the bottom right corner
Hold
was
on.
the text,
Hold on.
CBI not for release, which I'll do my best to show you while blurring everything else out. This has led to some pretty wild theories being
Not
spread
for
all over the
release.
internet. According to the most popular ones, the incident did happen, but it was covered up by the American government. As the story goes, the government was trying to assassinate someone who was attending this high school volleyball game. Things got out of hand, however, and a lot of the young volleyball players were caught in the crossfire. And since this would have caused tons of backlash from the public, the government instructed the news media to not talk about the story and also paid the victims' families to keep them quiet. However, while the US government is no stranger to covering up the truth, I have to admit, this one is quite far-fetched. Keeping something this big under wraps.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, like, if this was, and they're like, let me pay you to keep quiet.
For so
Y'all gonna
long
keep
feels
quiet?
pretty out there. At some point, you'd think the truth would slip out. A somewhat more reasonable theory is that this is a classic case of the Mandela effect, where large groups of people collectively misremember something.
Yo, there's so many, like, Mandela effects out there that is crazy, man. Some of them are even, like, they seem too real to not be true, bro.
And coincidentally enough, I actually did find a similar incident that happened in 2006 in that region. In the Platte Canyon High School situation, 53-year-old Dwayne Roger Morrison took 7 female students hostage, attacked them, and ended up shooting one of them. This also took place on September 27, 2006, which is the same date on which the alleged photo was taken before the incident. Its location in Colorado might also explain why people from the Midwest remember hearing about it on the news. But there are some major differences. Most notably, the Platte Canyon incident had nothing to do with a volleyball game, and there was only one death. But in saying all of that, the most likely scenario is that all of this is a hoax. While researching this incident, I came across an interesting post on the forum Above Top Secret from 2017. In this post, the OP was talking about creating a hoax in which multiple school shootings happened in 2006 in tiny towns, but any information relating to these incidents has been mysteriously erased from the public record. But if that's the case, the images that some ordinary gamer came across, where did they come from? Considering it's been over 7 years since this first contraction.
And we can even say shit is AI at this point, y'all, because that shit is way back then.
On the internet, it's unlikely we'll ever know the answer to this disturbing internet rabbit hole. Grave robbing for morons. On August 8,
Yo, my dumbass still had that when my mic was working this whole time. I'm back, yeah, my fault.
In 2014, a user by the name Simon
I'ma edit that out.
posted a video on YouTube titled Grave Robbing for Morons. This was a digital re-upload of a very old VHS video, an extremely chilling one at that. In it, a young man goes into disturbing detail explaining step by step how to rob graves and sell the remains on the black market.
Grab it by the eyes or the nose. You pull it out, put your finger all the way in. There is nothing there that will hurt you at all. Or you have to make sure of that. There's nothing that can hurt you. Do not be afraid. Pull it out like that. Do not pull it by the teeth, or else it'll break out like that, and you will have holes.
What makes this video even more unsettling,
It's just like, how do you even come across wanting to do this shit, bro? Like, one day you just chilling, and then you just like, fuck it, let me just go rob a grave, bro. Like, don't you have something else to do
isn't
with your
just
life?
its content, but the mystery surrounding it. No one knows who the man in the video is.
This nigga looked like Michael Jackson reborn. Like, if Michael Jackson was reborn, This him right here, chat. This him right here.
To this day, his identity remains unknown, and no one has come forward to claim responsibility. This has left the internet in two fiercely opposing camps. Some believe this is authentic footage of a real grave robber. Others argue it's an obscure horror short crafted purely for shock value. Surprisingly, I came across evidence that supports both sides of the argument while researching this topic.
Like, hold on, for real though. For real, for real. Like, for real. What the fuck made this nigga think robbing grave would be like good thing? Like,
One undeniable fact, however, is that the original video is extremely old. The earliest mention of its title, Grave Robbing for Morons, I found on the internet was a now defunct online store for horror VHS tapes called Shocking Videos. This website listed the tape for sale in April of 2003, stating, "What we have here is genuine camcorder footage of a drunken teenage stutterer giving a half-hour lecture on how to steal body parts from graveyards for fun and profit
they
while
talking
holding
about
a
him,
fresh,
too.
rotting skull in his hands." That said, the original video is likely from the late 80s. We can clearly see the
Yeah,
VHS
that's what I'm
box
talking
for the
about.
1987 Evil Dead 2 movie 5 minutes and 43 seconds into the video. And to narrow it down even more, there's an issue of Horror FX magazine visible in the bottom left corner at the same time. This specific cover was a part of a unique Fangoria horror magazine edition released in July 1989, which means the video was probably shot around that year. The horror memorabilia scattered throughout the footage implies that whoever created this video might have been a die-hard horror fan just trying.
ew, look at how his thumb look, chat.
Horror memorabilia scattered throughout the footage implies that whoever created this video might have been a die-hard
This
horror
guy
fan
was not normal. Look at that shit.
and just
Why
trying to
look
make
like
something
that?
creepy for the thrill of it.
Am
And
I
while most
bugging?
of the gruesome advice given in the video feels very authentic, like describing ways to remove the skull from a body that hasn't fully decomposed yet, there are also sections that seem extremely goofy. Like when the host suggests knocking out witnesses so they think it was all just a dream.
Never leave witnesses. If you have to knock them out so that way they think it's a dream.
This gives further credence to the theory that the subject doesn't have any real grave robbing experience and is just making it all up for the video. On the other hand, some people argue that the skull he's showing in the video is far too detailed to be fake. As for the inconsistency in the advice, that could be explained by the theory that this was likely his first time robbing a grave, and that he was simply making things up to seem more knowledgeable on the topic than he actually was. But this is where things start getting really
But it
eerie.
sounds like he
Toward the
actually
end
know
of
the
the
fact.
tape, the guy almost mumbles his full name, but stops himself before saying his entire last name.
Okay, this was made by Anthony. Well, as a matter of fact, let's forget the last name.
And in 1999, a man named Anthony Casamassima was arrested in New York for stealing an expensive stained glass window from a cemetery. There was a real possibility that this was the same person who made the Grave Robbing for Morons guide. That being said, there are a few inconsistencies that say otherwise. For instance, I did not find any charges against Anthony Casamassima that mentioned him desecrating bodies. He was more into stealing valuable artifacts like stained glass. And more importantly, Casamassima was 40 when he was arrested in 1999. If he made the tape, he would have been around 30 at the time. However, given the young appearance of the video's subject, that seems highly unlikely. I also found a couple more theories as well, but most of them lead to dead ends. One such theory claims the guy in the video might be Craig A. Bradley, who was arrested in 1995 for stealing human remains from a cemetery in upstate New York. Craig would have been around 24 when the grave robbing video was filmed, which fits with the young appearance of the guy in the tape. Plus, he even looks a bit like him. However, the issue with this
Bro,
theory
they
is
do
that
not
Craig
look
doesn't
like-
have the stutter that was prominent in the original video.
Winter months I'm laid off.
Bro, they do
Winter
not
months.
look alike, bro.
Don't usually pay.
Dig for you and everything. So you dig and your friend digs, and then it's another friend digs. You have to find some place really secluded, so that way
There's no way they're the
no
same
interruptions.
person.
Okay.
Now, he could have faked the stutter in the original video for some reason. However, people on the internet find that extremely unlikely given how real it feels. Grave robber or actor, the stutter is real. I've known several people with really bad stutters, and it's such a specific, uncontrollable behavior that makes it hard to fake. This kid's stutter feels unique and authentic. I've never seen an actor in a movie fake a stutter that felt this real. It's possible one day the person seen in the video will come forward with the truth, but for now we have no idea who the person is or whether or not this extremely realistic looking grave robbing video is real. Strange sounds in the sky. Over the past 50 plus years, there have been numerous reports of people hearing mysterious sounds coming from the sky. In some cases, the mysterious noise resembles the sound of screeching metal, like someone dragging heavy metal furniture across the floor.
Oh,
However, the
hell
most
no.
commonly reported noise is a low
Yeah, I'm
frequency hum
walking
that
the
persists
fuck
in the area.
back if I hear some shit like that as I'm walking. Like, I don't even care about going home no more.
Those who can hear these sounds describe them as omnipresent and extremely annoying. And according to the BBC, the humming noise has been linked to at least one person ending their own life in the UK. However,
What?
while there are likely many legit reports of people hearing a mysterious humming, which we'll get to in a bit, many of the claims are either fake or can be explained quite easily. For instance, the metallic screeching noise could simply be from a nearby railroad with a long freight train rounding a corner and causing vibrations. Some of these trains are incredibly lengthy and can take several minutes to pass. Similarly, in another video you can hear what sounds like an extremely loud trumpet.
Like, when it's a train, you can tell, bro. Like, you can tell it's a fucking train. That ain't no train car. And the other metal shit is definitely
The
not
original
no train,
poster of
bro.
this video titled this as a judgment trumpet, referring to the divine trumpet described in the Christian faith. However, given the poor weather conditions in the footage, it's likely just a malfunctioning tornado siren, like this. A few of these videos are also outright faked, with the mysterious sounds being edited in to generate views. Notice how the birds around the area appear completely unaffected by the loud, ominous noise, which would be unlikely if the sound was genuinely overwhelming the environment. Birds have sharper hearing than humans, and they would likely react. That said, there are still thousands of reports from people who can't be easily debunked or labeled as fake. Unlike the examples I've shown so far, the vast majority of seemingly authentic reports involve the persistent, low-frequency hum. This strange phenomenon seems to trace back to Bristol, England in the late 1970s. The city council received hundreds of complaints from residents about a strange noise that was audible at night. One local newspaper even asked readers in the city, "Have you heard the hum?" and almost 800 people said they had. French scientists back then proposed that the sound might originate from the ocean, suggesting that continuous waves could be vibrating the ocean floor. Now, this explanation might have been true for Bristol, but as time went on, more and more people around the world started reporting these disturbing humming noises. And it appears the Bristol hum is still present to this day. There are many theories that attempt to explain the bizarre global phenomenon. And these can get into some truly out there conspiracies, like aliens or secret underground civilizations in the Hollow Earth. However, the most plausible explanation I found suggests that these sounds are more connected to the listeners themselves rather than their surroundings. Things like hypersensitive ears and early signs of hearing issues like tinnitus could be a major contributor. Another possible reason could be the increasing levels of anxiety and stress. A BBC researcher also noted that she only heard the hum when she was exhausted and stressed out, which further supports the notion of this mysterious hum being a psychosomatic or stress-related phenomenon. During my
But it's just like, when it's shit like that, it's just too crazy, because how are so many people having the same thing? Like, I don't think it's just because a condition or nothing. Like, some gotta be happening, bro. Some gotta be happening. Let's watch
In December
this,
of 2022, the authorities in Northern Ireland came across a bizarre crime scene where the most likely suspect was somehow in two places at once. It all started on the 18th of December when Irish YouTuber VoteSaxon07, whose real identity is 33-year-old Stephen McCullen, live-streamed himself playing GTA Vice City. The stream started at around 6 p.m. and Steven stayed live for about 6 hours, till midnight. The stream itself was quite unremarkable, with Steven playing the game mostly in silence, broken by his occasional commentary. Unfortunately, while he was streaming comfortably in his home, his 32-year-old girlfriend, Natalie McNally, was going through something downright horrific. Steven, however, was completely unaware of this and promptly went to sleep after ending the stream. The next day, he woke up to a barrage of calls and messages regarding Natalie. She was apparently at her parents' house the night before to watch the World Cup finale. The match ended at around 6 p.m. and Natalie went back to her home shortly after, which wasn't too far away. She lived alone in Northern Ireland with her 2 cats and a dog. However, the
They even
next
live
day,
together?
no one could get through to Natalie. She didn't show up to work and wasn't picking up her phone either. At the time, she was also 15 weeks pregnant with Steven's child. So when she went silent, her friends and family grew worried, fearing she
13
was
weeks?
facing some health concerns. After learning about her absence and waiting a few hours for a response, Steven went to her home, which was about 20 minutes away from his home in Lisburn. Unfortunately, he was too late. When Steven arrived at Natalie's home, the door was wide open. Inside, he found her lifeless on the floor. She
Oh
had been
my
killed.
god. Oh my
Detectives
god.
from the major investigation team.
This is why y'all niggas gotta live together with y'all partners. Especially if she pregnant. Like, how you gonna leave her by herself when she pregnant, yo?
Have now launched
No
a murder
fucking
investigation
way. Yo, that
following
shit just
the
gave me
death of
chills,
Natalie
bro.
McNally in Lurgan. This follows the results of the post-mortem. The 32-year-old died a violent death, having been stabbed a number of times, and there are
Stabbing?
signs of defensive injuries.
Post-mortem reports
Oh
showed
my.
that she was killed on the night of December 18th, not long after she
Dad,
came back from her
bro.
parents' home. However, investigators did not find any evidence of a forced entry into her home. This, combined with the fact that Steven was the one who reported her death to the police, made him the lead suspect in her murder investigation, and he was arrested shortly after. However, this arrest didn't last long, because as the authorities quickly found out, Steven had a strong alibi. According to the post-mortem report, Natalie was killed during the same time Steven was live streaming from his home. Investigators looked through Natalie's phone and found the last text Steven sent to her at 5:57 p.m., which read, "Right, I'm off to stream the night away. Wish me luck." To which Natalie replied, "I might have a peek at your live stream later." This was enough to clear Steven's name from any wrongdoing, but it left investigators with no clear direction on where to look next. Steven did give them the name of someone he suspected, however, investigating that person didn't lead to any breakthrough in the case either, and the name of this person was never made public for this reason. Luckily, detectives found CCTV footage a few days later showing a man dressed in dark clothes and white shoes heading
Nah,
towards
no way
Natalie's
it was
home at
him, yo.
8:52 p.m.
He was live streaming. How the fuck could it have been him?
And then the same person going back about 40 minutes later. Given his timing, investigators determined that this was the killer. Shockingly, he had the same height and build as Steven. This put him on the radar once
Exactly,
again, but
yo.
it also raised a valid question. If Steven was the perpetrator, how could he be in 2 places at the same time?
Oh my god. A pre-recorded stream. I just got chills. I just got chills all over my fucking body.
Without any other option, the authorities put a £20,000 reward for information regarding the killer and continued investigating. They also feared that by the time they started this investigation, the killer could have easily fled to any of the neighboring countries. In the meantime, Natalie's case had become national
Oh.
news, resulting in multiple memorials around the country. This put even more pressure on the investigators to find the killer as quickly as possible. They made several arrests and even seized the suspect's car. Investigators also found the weapon the killer used on the 5th of January 2023, which was a knife from her own home. However, none of these developments brought them any closer to identifying the killer. That is until January 31st, when they arrested Steven again, but this time with solid
Yo,
evidence.
look at this nigga. Oh, hell nah. It was definitely this nigga. He's fucked up. Just look. He's off fat. He's off of everything.
As it turns out, the only thing keeping him out of suspicion, the live stream,
The live
was
stream.
completely fake. The
I
whole
said
thing
it.
was pre-recorded and
Pre-recorded.
broadcasted to simply look like a live stream.
Oh my fucking
After
god,
his
it was
arrest,
him.
investigators went through his computer and found the original recording, which was made on the 14th of December, 4 days before the incident.
It was him.
They also found a taxi driver who described picking up someone matching Steven's profile near the murder at 9:30 p.m. and then dropping this person near Steven's house. Most importantly, according to the taxi driver, this passenger had forgotten his wallet at home, so he quickly ran inside his house to get the money. And as expected, he ran into Steven's home. All this evidence left no doubt in the fact that Steven was the one who went to Natalie's home to commit a predetermined crime.
Yo.
In hindsight, there were plenty of suspicious moments
He
during the
killed his
fake live
own
stream that
wife?
should have raised more alarms. For starters, the stream was titled The Violent Night Christmas Live Gaming Stream. At the start of the stream, Steven also claimed that he was having technical issues with the streaming software, which he used as an excuse as to why he wouldn't be able to interact with the live chat.
Well, because this streaming software is kind of up the left, it means I can't check the live chat, which is a real shame. So, by all means, talk amongst yourselves.
This ensured that no one questioned why he wasn't talking with his viewers,
Oh
which
my
is essentially the
fucking
whole point
God,
of doing a
yo.
stream instead of posting a
I'm
pre-recorded video.
saying.
At the start of the stream, Steven made sure to repeatedly mention what day it was.
Hello to all on this glorious Sunday evening. Yeah, so I just thought, why not? I'm gonna do a live stream because this day next week is Christmas. So what more could you want for Christmas other than an evening with your old pal Steven?
Yo, this
This was
guy
likely an
is sick
effort
in
to
the
make his
head.
alibi
Yo.
stronger and to say, look, I was streaming the same night. I even mentioned the day at the beginning. On top of that, many moments in the stream also took on a far more disturbing meaning after the truth came out. Like him singing about killing someone in-game, which can also be interpreted as him cryptically talking about his girlfriend.
I need to kill it. I need to take her down. 'Cause I won't pass the mission if I don't get this to die.
This guy is sick in the head.
At another point during the stream,
He's
he
not
makes a
real,
pun
bro.
that sounds like Natalie's name and finds it unusually amusing.
Yeah, that's physics. That's what would happen in the real world. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The most creepy moment, however, was about halfway through
Yo, look at his face. Look at his face.
talking about his girlfriend.
I need to kill it.
Wait, I went back a little bit too much.
Absolutely.
Look at his face, Chad.
Absolutely.
Nah.
The most creepy
Nah.
moment, however, was
This
about
guy is
halfway through
weird
the
as hell.
stream. While he was on break, suddenly the live stream back soon graphic switched with a poster of a James Bond movie called No Time to Die. Steven later claimed that this was an accident. He accidentally dropped his controller on the keypad, which made the strange graphic come up. But since we now know that the live stream was pre-recorded, Steven deliberately included this graphic at this point during the editing, likely alluding to the crime he was going to commit on that day.
This is
theory
like-
becomes even more credible once you consider the fact that this movie poster came up at about 9:15 p.m., which perfectly aligns with the time he was at Natalie's house committing the brutal crime. That said, his clever schemes were derailed and he was charged with murder. He was also
Miss McNally was stabbed and beaten to death at her Silverwood Green home in Lurgan, whatever the fuck that is, December 18 last year. 33 Woodland Gardens and what are these fucking names, bro? Was refused bail on charge of carrying out her murder.
refused bail. And at the time of writing, he's awaiting trial on May 6, 2025. Hopefully,
Wait, what was? This shit took place a minute ago, and trial started
Natalie and
in
her family
this
can
year.
get the justice they deserve.
That's crazy. That nigga
On
need
April
life.
4th, 2020, Ernest Wilson went live on Facebook during a house party, without knowing that these were his final moments alive. Ernest was a 24-year-old warehouse worker living in Baltimore, Maryland. The only passion he had in life was for partying, playing board games, and turning them into drinking games. Unfortunately, the 2020 pandemic and the subsequent lockdown closed every public venue he frequented. So he decided to take matters in his own hands and came up with a solid plan. He would rent Airbnbs, host an invite-only party which he referred to as a game night with a fee to cover the expenses, and have a good time with his friends. These parties started off small but quickly grew in numbers as more and more people became aware of them. And on April 3rd, he went onto Facebook to plan another party that weekend, asking, "Should I do game nights again this weekend?" And we playing hide and seek at game night tonight? After receiving enough confirmations, he decided to go ahead with the plans and announced a 2-day game night with free entry for girls and a $5 fee for the guys. Not long after this announcement, he also made a post about bringing uninvited people, stating, "Please don't show up with nobody I didn't personally invite if we didn't discuss it first. They're going to get left outside." Maybe he had experienced problems with uninvited guests at past events.
He's
or
smart,
maybe he simply wanted to know the
but it
exact
still
number of
wasn't enough.
attendees ahead of time. But
He was
in
taking some
hindsight, his
precautions.
concern makes a lot more sense. As the night approached, Ernest started the event, and it went just as well as he could have hoped, with everyone dancing and having a good time. That is until 2:30 a.m. when the group decided to play the hide-and-seek game they discussed earlier. Ernest took charge as the first seeker and began a countdown at the Airbnb's backyard.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
However, as soon as he
Seven,
began searching for his friends, he stumbled upon something
I don't
completely
know.
unexpected.
I'm done. I'm done.
One.
I'm done. I'm done.
2, 3. Who the is that, G? I don't know. Get your okay. Get your on the other side of this gate. Who the? Stop. This can't be one of my friends.
He saw someone trying to jump the fence and break into the property. Now, the correct response would have been to go back inside to safety and call the cops on this intruder.
Come, bro.
However, Ernest was
Or
already a
fight
bit
that
under
nigga.
the influence at the time and made the biggest mistake of his life. He decided to confront the man on his own, and that's when things took a turn. The intruder was armed, and after some back and forth, tragically shot Ernest before fleeing the scene, all of which could be heard on the live stream.
Oh, he was live?
The police arrived at the property at 2:45 a.m.
I didn't
where they
even
found
hear them
Ernest
shot.
lying in a pool of his own blood. According to the few statements that were released to the public, this appeared to be a case of a robbery gone wrong. However, some believe there was more to the story. This is because during Ernest's struggle with the intruder, a girl can be heard laughing in the background. As the story goes, this girl was an accomplice of the intruder who planned to
Shut
either
up.
rob the place or eliminate Ernest for some reason, with
Shut
one
up.
person on YouTube writing, "That girl tried to let someone in the front door, or she knew who tried coming through the door. Once discovering it was locked, she told them to hop the fence as clear as day. I would start with her boyfriend." Unfortunately, from what I can find, the police never caught the suspect, and Ernest's case remains open to this day. So, whatever their motive
Is
was, I
open?
doubt we'll ever know,
It's still,
especially
it's
5 years
crazy
later.
how cases could be open for so long. Damn.
On September 7th, 2024, a 32-year-old man by the name of Joseph Couch opened fire on vehicles traveling down I-75 near the city of London, Kentucky. He managed to hit 12 cars, injuring 5 people. Fortunately, there were no fatalities. As authorities rushed to his location, Joseph managed to escape into the wooded area
Is that
alongside
him?
the highway. This left the investigators with no choice but to search the Daniel Boone National Forest, hoping to find the mass shooter. In the meantime, they also began looking into Joseph's past and made some chilling discoveries. He served in the Army Reserve from 2013 to 2019 before receiving an honorable discharge due to him developing PTSD. More importantly, this wasn't his first entanglement with law enforcement. Back in 2015, he was arrested for throwing a rock at a dog and then pointing an AR-15 at its owner. Joseph had to pay
What the
$1,000 for
fuck?
bail, and the case was later dismissed a few months later. However, the same year he was arrested again, this time for supplying a minor with alcohol and vandalizing private property with spray paint. This resulted in him having to spend 6 months in jail, alongside 200 hours of community service and a $1,500 fine. All of this highlighted just how mentally unstable he was. Something that became even more apparent when investigators factored in the messages he sent to his ex before the shooting. These read, "I'm going to kill a lot of people. Well, at least try. I'll kill myself afterwards." His past record and these texts also made it clear that Joseph wouldn't go down without a fight if they managed to find him. Unfortunately, the search for him wasn't progressing as smoothly as they'd hoped.
The search for the suspected highway gunman, Joseph Couch, intensifies as law enforcement has expanded its search efforts. State police say they are extending their search deeper into the Daniel Boone National
looks like a
Forest as the
GTA
manhunt for
character.
Couch enters day 7.
Local agencies were forced to close a section of I-75 and shut down schools, fearing Joseph might strike again. Eventually, they did manage to find his SUV, which also had numerous cases of ammo for the AR-15 style rifle he used for the shooting. However, this didn't provide any clues about his current whereabouts. In a desperate measure, the authorities put a $35,000 reward for finding Joseph to enlist the help of locals. And that's where the McCoy couple entered the picture. Fred McCoy and his wife Sheila operate a museum dedicated to the historic feud
My
between
Sheila.
the Hatfield and McCoy families
I
in
know
Kentucky.
whose style, yo. That
They
audio
also run a
gets in
small
mine.
YouTube channel dedicated to this museum called Hatfield McCoy Museum Adventures, where they discuss the various aspects of that feud in greater detail. After hearing about the massive reward, the couple decided to give it a go. They had lived in the area their entire lives and knew the wilderness well.
$35,000. That's a sweet little piece of money. We're going looking for him. We're hoping he finds us, but we're going looking for this Couch guy, Joseph Couch.
They also decided to live stream their adventure through the Kentucky forest on YouTube, likely to have an instant record of whatever they find. They truly believed they could find him, and luck was on their side, because during one of their live streamed expeditions, Fred noticed a whole bunch of vultures hovering over the same area, possibly indicating a rotting corpse nearby. The two decided to head towards the vultures, and just 30 minutes later, the McCoys found what they were looking for.
You found him?
Yo, why is he excited? Bro, that guy is happy. Like if he just won the lottery after finding a dead body.
Oh, my Lanta. I'm coming. Oh, my Lanta.
Oh,
You found him?
he hung himself?
Oh,
He
my Lanta.
deteriorated.
They immediately alerted the
Oh, my
authorities, who used
Lanta.
DNA testing to confirm the body was indeed Joseph Couch. A later autopsy report also confirmed that he went through with the plan he talked about in his message. After 13 days of searching, the I-75 shooter mystery finally came to a close, ending the manhunt and easing the fear of Joseph still being out there. On October 28, 2019, a 47-year-old Japanese man
shit's
named
crazy,
Tetsu
bro.
Shiohara live-streamed
Like, how
himself
can people
climbing Mount
be like
Fuji.
that, bro?
And what was supposed to be nothing more
live
than a
life,
fun
bro.
stream quickly turned into an avoidable tragedy. You see, Tetsu had been climbing Mount Fuji since 2017 and had already reached the summit many times. However, all of those previous expeditions were during the climbing season, which stretches from July to mid-September. And while it's not an easy task, it's far safer during these months with maintained trails, milder weather, and resting huts along the way that also sell essential supplies like food and oxygen cans. So when Tetsu decided to climb the mountain in late October, it was already covered in thick, slippery snow. And the conditions were far harsher than he could have imagined, with winds reaching up to 60 miles per hour. All of the resting spots on the mountain were also closed for the off-season. But despite this being his first off-season climb, the unfavorable conditions did not deter Tetsu. He was determined
he's
to reach
so-
the summit and make it back in a single
He's
day.
asking to die, bro.
Unfortunately, the stream didn't get off to a good start, as he forgot to bring essentials like thicker socks to keep his feet warm and crampons to prevent his shoes from slipping.
I'm not even about to say nothing because you just can't be that stupid, bro. Come on, bro.
靴下忘れた。いや違う違う。バスバス。
There's 2 people walking?
Later, he also commented on how he didn't bring any food with him to avoid making his backpack too heavy. But as the climb continued, not
No food? Yo,
having
bro.
food became the least of his worries, as he quickly realized the snow that day was deeper than he could have imagined. On his way to the top, he passed several points where the trail had collapsed due to bad weather. About 2 hours into the hike, his viewers started to notice how dangerous things were getting as well, and began urging him to turn back before reaching the summit.
一般人かな。そうやね。そうやね。でも散歩まで行けちゃうと思うよ。この。
However, he ignored all the warning signs and pressed on with the hike, and by
Stupid,
sheer
bro.
willpower actually managed to get close to the summit. Sadly, this is where his luck ran out. While treading through a particularly steep section of the trail, Tetsu slipped and fell down the mountainside.
外埋まってんだけど雪で。よし行こう。ここも危ないね。斜面。あ、滑る。
Oh my god.
Seconds after slipping,
Oh,
his phone hit a
hell.
rock and turned off, ending the live stream. His viewers immediately alerted the authorities. However, due to the harsh conditions, it took rescue workers 2 days to locate Tetsu's body. They found it severely dismembered, 2,300 feet below the point where he'd slipped.
Oh my.
Now, for most people, this was an open and shut case of an inexperienced and underprepared person misjudging the dangers of Mount Fuji. But I came across some interesting theories regarding the situation. For example, one person stated, I don't think he wanted to go exactly how/where he did on the mountain, but if you ever saw the live stream, you'd know that he definitely was planning on doing it, probably at the top. The chat was begging him to turn back, and he made constant, likely deliberate references to not being fully equipped. Additionally, he had a very ample and generous amount of time to turn around if it had purely been a mistake, with the last few people he met warning him to not go any further. In other words, Tetsu intended to end everything that day. The missing equipment was a deliberate decision, not an oversight. Although there's no
Nah.
evidence to prove this theory, and
Yo,
we'll never
that's
know for sure
sad,
if this was
bro.
actually his intention.
I mean, you could tell in his voice though, he did sound a little bit off. Like
December-
tired, kinda.